Everybody, welcome back to the Beyond the Peloton podcast. I'm Spencer Martin, author of the Beyond the Peloton newsletter. I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Andrew Vontz, Mr. Professional Boundaries himself. He might be releasing a manual, a class series that he can sell you. This guy is unbelievable. But, Andrew, we have the real season. I know we said last week the real season starting. This is the real season.
We've got Spence.
Today, Pogačar. Tomorrow, at Strade Bianche, dueling against... Get ready for it, his teammate, Isaac Del Toro. It's going to be a lot of the season, I think. Just UAE riders competing against UAE riders. It is a strong start list. We have, let's just pencil him in, 2026 Tour de France winner, Paul Seixas is also going to be there, as well as Wout van Aert, 2021 winner of Strade Bianche. And then, if that's not enough, Sunday, Paris-Nice rolls around, and you have Jonas Vingegaard versus Juan Ayuso and Joao Almeida. Pretty exciting. And then we have Tirreno Adriatico, where you guessed it, the bear himself, rolled out of hibernation. Primož Roglič is going to show up and face off against top Ghana, Filippo Ganna. So actually, pretty exciting series of races. But do you want to plug anything? Do you want to say anything before we get going?
I mean, there's a lot that I can't say, including the best way to administer freeze-dried coffee. But one of the things that I can tell you is I had a top secret conversation with Dana, my partner over there at Lauf in Iceland yesterday. We were cooking up something pretty special for May 28th in Emporia, Kansas. We're still hard at work on securing the PJ for Big Spence. He does want the 737 MAX with the full Price is Right California King bedroom set for his transport to the Tom Boonen Watts Festival. I don't remember the name of the fest. So we need something to get Spence from Emporia to Belgium, maybe a Concorde. Maybe we could bring one back online for that. Nonetheless, mark your calendars.
that would be unbelievable. Yeah. If there's a Concorde that sits on one of the runways at Heathrow, just taunting us, it's like you could be going faster. It's like just get that thing fueled up, get it over. That's going to solve all of our problems.
I'm sure there's one somewhere between Los Angeles and Palm Springs and the airport parking lot that's out there. I don't know if you've ever driven past it. There are a lot of commercial aircraft that are functional but offline. Dust off the Concorde. We'll get Spence in the air. Nonetheless, May 28th, Adult Contemporary Gravel Shakeout Ride World Tour. It's the Kenny G or Huey Lewis in the news of gravel experiences, and it's going to be breathtaking. You can do some, all, or none. More information coming soon. If you don't already, please subscribe to my podcast, Choose the Hard Way, and rate it 5 stars wherever you listen. I've got Dr. Steven Seiler coming on soon, Spencer. I was just exchanging some messages with him today. I don't know about you, but I still get so many questions from my fellow masters on the brink of world tour athletes who have questions about training zones. Ventilatory rate as a proxy for lactic threshold is a big thing now. And there's a lot I want to talk to Steven Seiler about. He's said, call him Steven, not Dr. Seiler.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there's a lot cracking, Spence. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about Concords, but yeah, we have Strade Bianche coming up. We wanted to do, I'm hesitant to even mention this, but we wanted to do a rewatchables. We will do this at some point. And then we found out there's no way to watch these races from the past. Oops, small problem. I did give 2025 just a bit of a peep. Not as exciting as you remember. Oh, I mean, Pogačar crashes, which at the moment you watch it, you think there's no way this guy's going to win it. And then he wins. So at the time that was exciting, but knowing what we know now, I did not find it to be the most exciting race to watch. But are you looking forward to anything about this race, or are you just like, whatever, it's over, Pogačar's going to win?
I think that this is going to be quite intriguing, and I think there's a lot to unpack here in a short period of time. I have some questions for you, Spencer, that I would like to dive into. Before I do, I wanted to mention 2 things about some of the other racing action this weekend. I noticed that you're going with the alt pronunciation for Paul Seixas. There is another pronunciation that's rising. I'm curious to see which sticks.
Well, so in Eurosport, whatever they call it now. Also, by the way, if you want to watch this race, it is on HBO Max. It was not on the schedule until this morning. So in true
people
Italian
freaked out
fashion,
yesterday. Yeah.
yeah, they were they got the deal done. They got it on there. But yeah, last week they were calling him Paul Seixas on there.
Correct.
Cannot imagine that's how his name is said. Johan and I dug into this though, got a recording from the man himself, and it is in the middle somewhere. I think it's like Paul Seixas, basically is how he says his name. I would go with Seixas just to be safe for now. I don't think you need to take a swing at the old. I was like watching the racing. You know, what? Why are you calling him this? What is happening right now? But it's a minefield. Why can't we just have the next Tour winner should be called like Jim Lewis? Nice, easy name to say. No innuendo there at all.
Yeah. I like Paul's success. I think that this could be his version of Top Ghana. And in fact,
Paul's success. Yeah.
I'm gonna build on this. I think that we should call him Rich Big Paul Success.
Rich Big Paul. Yeah.
Yeah. Rich Big Paul Success every time we refer to him. Nonetheless, Paris-Nice. Does anyone care?
They should care because it's the best race of the year. Forget the
Say
Tour
more.
friends. Paris-Nice.
Say more.
I would say, well, it is. So there's the three sisters. Let's call them. You have the Tour de France, and then you have the preparation race, the Dauphiné, before the Tour. So the Dauphiné usually does like the mountain stages of the Tour before the Tour. These are all owned by the same company, and then Paris-Nice is like all the crap stages of the Tour, but done in April outside of Paris. Awful weather. I guarantee you, the weather's gonna be terrible. Gonna be rainy. Gonna be windy. Gonna be crosswinds. It is a super hard race. It is one of the hardest races on the calendar. You want to see guys suffering? You want to see GC hopes blowing up on stage 2? Watch Paris-Nice. And it starts miserable, and then you end in Nice. How could a race be bad that ends in Nice, I would say, would be my main argument.
Okay.
And it often comes down to the final day. They have that circuit, and like goes up Col d'Ez, descends down, and oftentimes the race can be won and lost on that final day. So Paris-Nice is might be my favorite one-week race on the calendar, I'd say.
Am I remembering correctly? Is the Madone climb in Nice?
Madone and climb is outside of Nice, yes.
Okay, so I would assume that upon finishing, everyone will then
do their power test.
Try to go do the power test, right? Probably 1 to 2 hours following the completion of the race, and to honor the Trek model of that name, as all World Tour cyclists do this time of year.
So the story behind that, like Lance Armstrong used to do his power test on the Col de la Madone. He was a Trek athlete. That's why they named the bike that. He would try to do it. I think it's like a 20-minute climb, 20 minutes for him, not for us. He would try to do it at like 510 watts. And it was like, boom, 510 for 20. I'm ready to win the Tour. What's crazy now is that probably wouldn't be good enough. Isn't that wild to think about?
Yeah. Probably not. I'm going back in time here in 2000 or 2001. Zapata Espinosa, who is a legendary cycling journalist. He was the editor of Mountain Bike Action, then Mountain Bike Magazine, then back to Mountain Bike Action, and did a lot of motocross related stuff before that, and was also a photographer. At that point in time, around 2000 to maybe 2004, I think he was the head of communications at Trek. And Spencer, this was what was great about being a journalist in those days. I needed a road bike. I was living in LA, and Zap shot one out to me. One of the early Trek OCLB bikes, pre the Madone model. I still have that frame and fork. I have it set up as a single speed now. I have to say, man, it's a great bike. I love how it rides. Every time I get on it, it's so comfortable.
Yeah,
it's actually really super light.
Yeah, really good bikes. Super light, like shockingly.
Super light. Yeah, shockingly. When I get on that, built up as a single speed, it's probably around 14 pounds, I think.
you could repackage that and sell it, put a new paint job on it. It's like, this is actually the new innovation. We got rid of the gears.
Yeah.
And it's 14 pounds.
It's climbing specific. So taking a look at, let's set aside Rich Big Paul's success. Let's talk now about the Strade Bianche. And people are thinking of this, Spence, as a fait accompli. This is Pog's race to lose, is the way it's being positioned. My first question for you is, let's say Pog does lose, not because of a crash. What will that tell us?
Well, that would be shocking. Well, so we should say Pogacar could lose. He almost lost last year. If you remember last year, Thomas Pidcock attacked first. He shot first, and Pogacar followed him. So he isolates Pogacar, forces him to make a mistake. He crashes on a descent. That could have worked. That probably should have worked out where Pidcock wins the race. He's rewarded for that boldness by winning the race because he's forced Pogacar into a mistake, isolate him from his team. That could happen. Not impossible. If Pogacar loses on straight racing, I think there's one rider that's going to beat him. I think it's Paul Seixas winning. And it would be shocking to me if because it's a hard race. There's a lot of climbing. These are very hard climbs. If he's dropped by Paul, then that would blow my mind. But if you look at the numbers from last week, just last week, Paul Seixas did 7.2 watts per kilo roughly for 16 to 20 minutes on the climb where he dropped everybody. Not only did he do that, he just kept powering over and put minutes into him, which tells us that he wasn't really above his threshold that much. To go back to the Lance test, Lance doing 510 watts for 20 minutes is actually lower watts per kilo than Paul Seixas did last weekend. So that's how strong this guy is. I don't think it's going to happen. Is he even good on gravel? We have no idea. He's only done like 6 races ever that have been televised. We don't really know that much about him. It would blow my mind. I mean, do you think anyone other than Paul Seixas can beat Pogacar at this race without a crash?
Right. Looking at the start list, there are a few names who jump out for me, but I want to flip the question back onto you. What do you think?
I would say the only other rider I could see beating him straight up is Isaac Del Toro. How does that happen, though, since that's his teammate? But we've seen crazier things. You see this more than you'd think, that ascendant star rider, ascendant teammate clash. It's not impossible. So I don't think Del Toro's maybe there right now, but remember the last time they raced this road and this finish was Giro d'Italia Stage 9. Del Toro looked pretty good, almost won. Also dropped his teammate. You remember this? He looked back and Juan Ayuso was in the leader's jersey. Mr. Del Toro did not wait, and he said, "Oh, I didn't know who that was." So I kept going. I don't know if I buy that excuse, but he was beaten by Wout van Aert, of course, on that finish. But very good rider in the gravel, just good rider in general. I actually don't quite know what is UAE going to do? How are they going to play this? Because the rider who set up Pogacar last year was Del Toro. I have to imagine they're going to try to hold him back in some sort of secondary leadership role. How does that look? These are things I'm excited to see. I don't really know. And then you have Jan Christen on UAE, also very talented. I heard him described as a mini Ayuso, kind of thinks he's the star of the team. So they've got an interesting collection of riders here for tomorrow's race.
Yeah, so this Del Toro Pogacar dichotomy is an interesting one. I don't think what I'm about to say is likely, yet I will say it. A scenario could unfold where Pog decides, you know what, I've got enough. I've had enough victories here, and I would like to let one of my teammates take this victory because there's not a lot left on the calendar after I'm out there like Pac-Man gobbling up the power pellets, and I'm about to rock Flanders and Roubaix. I need everyone's support. I'm going to throw this guy a bone. I don't think that's going to happen, but it could.
Well, so Pogacar's won the race the last 3 times he's done it. The last time he did not win it, I believe, was 2021 when Wout van Aert won it. Pidcock won it in the year Pogacar didn't do it. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting question. Does Pogacar care about this race? It's not a monument, so you're not racking up monument wins. It's an exciting race. It's a young race. First edition was 2007, I believe. I like it. I think it looks great. It's a little rinky-dink. It's a little formulaic. It's not. I think it's probably over. I'm not trying to be mean to Strade Bianche. I think it's overrated as a sporting event because it does a good job of promoting itself and it's first, so people are excited for it. But let's be real, like Milan-San Remo next weekend is 50 times the sporting event that Strade Bianche is. Yeah, does he care about just winning another Strade Bianche really do that much for Pogacar? Potentially no, other than just the man wants to win when he lines up. I mean, just my bets are the bets I've put in are Pogačar to win, and then my secondary picks are Del Toro to win because the odds are so weighted that even if you can make money betting both, and then also Paul Seixas to win, but you could imagine him giving it away. It's not impossible. It's a good thing to watch out for.
Yeah, so let's talk a bit more about who is on the start list and some other scenarios, and then I'd like to talk a bit about how the race might unfold and what the factors are that could be confounding variables here, because I think those are interesting considerations. Looking at the start list, you just mentioned two names that, had we talked about them 4 years ago, we would say that these are stars burning bright, perhaps as brightly as Tadej Pogačar. And since then, Pog has created some separation and broken away. The riders we're talking about, past winners, Tom Pidcock and Wout van Aert. Isn't it wild, Spence, that in 2026, I have a very difficult time imagining it being possible for them to win?
Yeah, it is. It is like it's a sign of the time, sign of how good Pogačar is. Also, we should note, since Wout won, the course is harder, almost 2,000 feet more climbing. Van der Poel, who won the year after in 2022, isn't coming because he said, I can't win. So what's the point of going? So that tells you how much harder the race has gotten. And then partly UAE's just hacked it. And this is why I think it's not a premier event, because it's so hackable. It's very difficult, a lot of climbing. And then it's also, the television is odd. They televise the women's race, and then they have to drive the motos back to the men and start. So you miss a lot of the race. There's a big climb that we will not see with about 100K to go. And then with 80K to go, they start it's the Monte Saint Marie, something like that. Very hard climb on a gravel section. And UAE just knows on that climb we won't see, they put the team on the front, they line it out, they make it so hard. Everyone's pinned on the gravel descent. They get to the next gravel climb and they ramp it up, and Pogačar attacks, and it just burned the physiological load is so high, just no one can stay with him. Maybe Pidcock, maybe Paul Seixas. The problem is then you go into the finish and no one can out sprint him on that steep finish into the Siena, the plaza in Siena. So UAE's kind of hacked it, where even Van Aert doesn't have a chance to hold on, because you have to be so good at climbing, but then also so good at finishing a race off. There's really only one or two riders in the world who can do that.
Right. And one other rider to talk about here is what American rider is going to be making their 2026 World Tour debut at this race.
Who's
Pop
that?
quiz.
Is it? Wait, 2026? Not their career debut.
Not their career. Like, this is their
Quinnithi
first big.
Simmons.
That's correct. Yes.
Interesting.
And Quinn
he crashed at this race last year before. You remember?
Yes.
This? Yeah.
Yes. Listening to his for Quinn Simmons extensive and vast off-season interviews that he granted, because typically he does not do many, but he did go on What's Occurring, and he did give a wide-ranging and vast interview.
Did you make those guys stay up until like 1 a.m. to do that interview?
What?
Yeah. So
he wouldn't be accommodating at the time?
I feel like we're putting Quinn on blast.
Okay.
But yeah, that's how hard it is to get Quinn Simmons. Like, Geraint Thomas won the Tour de France. The man runs a World Tour team now, and they stayed up until like midnight to accommodate Quinn's training schedule. So not an easy interview to get.
Okay.
Kudos to Luke and Geraint. I know a lot of former Tour winners that would not be that flexible, probably.
I don't care who you are. I'm not staying up until 1 a.m. to interview you.
I think we got up at like 5 a.m. to do a Pluga interview one time, if I recall.
Yeah, maybe. I was in Kansas City, actually, in a bedroom in my parents' house when we did that.
That's probably our most listened to episode ever. Yeah, we did it at like 5 a.m. from our childhood bedrooms.
Yeah, so Quinn Simmons is going to be there, and the way Quinn talks about Strade Bianche, he talks about it like he could win the race. And I went back, I watched 2022, and again, it is interesting. And Spencer, I was thinking about this with other sports. Could I go watch any competition ever, like, I don't know, in World Cup rugby, Probably. Yeah, I probably could. I could probably I could probably find
Yeah, I was thinking
past
about that.
competitions,
Yeah,
right?
like if I wanna watch an old NBA game, where would I do that? Probably a lot of them on YouTube, and then NBA League Pass might have some archive that I can just go. I know with F1, I have the I have the premium F1 subscription
Oh,
because
wow.
my son, I can just the little a little peek behind the curtain. Maybe I'm home alone with the kids. I just throw on an old F1 race. Boom, I'm on the trainer. They're occupied for an hour and a half. But yeah, you can just go back through like 10 seasons and watch all these old races right in one place. It's amazing.
Yeah, so you can't do that with cycling, which makes it difficult for fans of the sport, and certainly for people who are ready to dig super deep and talk to you about the storied history and past of these events to do anything. Like, wow, what a bummer. Even the fact that this race, which has now become something of a classic, yet is not a classic, like its history has already disappeared. It's vaporized. It's very weird.
And a lot of times before COVID, I think the TV started at 50K to go. So the race was
Right.
essentially over by the time like Cancellara wins. Those are kind of living in my imagination. I don't even really know how much I've seen of them because it's like, oh, Cancellara is alone. All right, now he's winning. 'Cause you don't
Right.
really get to see the race. Yeah, it's a little bush league. But Quinn Simmons, I'm looking at his results. Very good results here. So 2022, he's
Yes.
7th. Believe he might have been in a break. 2023, he's 12th. Maybe he was in a break. And then he DNF'd the last 2 years, 24 and 25. But I believe he crashed out both of those in very good positions. Like, and could he win? I mean, if you think about Lombardia, like he stays away, he gets caught by Pogacar and three other people before the finish. There's a world that he's crazy enough he could get in a move and they don't pull him back. Like that's not impossible for Quinn Simmons. He's that strong,
Right.
and
One
that's the only way
race.
to win.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the only way to win. So I was not able to see the entirety of 2022. And if I recall correctly, I believe that's the first year Pog won.
2022 might have been Vanderpool because Wout was 2021. No, you're right. 2022. Wait a second. Did Matthew Vanderpool not win this race? Hold on
Yeah.
Oh,
Tadej won in 2022.
sorry, I have my years
Okay.
shifted. Vanderpool won in 21. Wout won in 2020 when it was in the fall because of the weird schedule.
Right.
You're right. Tadej wins in 2022 with like a crazy attack, if I'm remembering. Like
Yeah.
50K
It
solo.
was the beginning of the long bombs from
Yeah.
Pog. Pog went from 49K out in the 184-kilometer race. And yeah, and then in 24, he had an 81-kilometer solo. The solos just kept getting
But
longer
look
and
at
longer
this
and
in
longer.
2022. Tells you the feeling was not what it is now because he only wins
Yeah.
by 37 seconds.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that 2022 race, I was not able to see the race in its entirety. That actually, as I was doing my investigative work to think about what would be the ideal rewatchables episode, that year I thought was intriguing because I do think it's when this bifurcation between Pog and everyone else begins. And it's when I think we start to see the Pog that we have now. I mean, he's like Michelangelo's David now. Then he was still being carved out of the marble, I feel.
Which is funny to think about because he had already won the Tour 2 times. But
Yeah.
you're right, he was not a fully formed rider. And what's crazy about this episode is going to be us being like, the SNL skit. It's like, remember the time you won? How great that was. What's crazy about Pogacar is he wins the Tour 2 times. He wins Strade, right, in 2022. I think he biffs Flanders, perhaps. Doesn't win Flanders. He kind of like misses the podium with an awkward sprint. Loses the Tour. And then loses the Tour again 2 years in a row. I don't know if I've ever seen anyone recover from two Tour losses by then coming back and be like, yeah, I'm actually going to be like way better than I was when I won the Tour the first 2 times. And now he's almost a different rider than he was then. But you're right, this 2022 was the first peep of what we didn't know was coming, but ultimately is what kind of ate the sport.
Yeah, completely. So this is the beginning of peak Pog. And the other thing that jumped out at me in 2022, he's in the break with Pog. And when Pog hits the gas and puts in the attack at 49 kilometers to go. Quinn has talked about this. He talked about what it was like when he was in that 2-up break with Wout, who is not on the level of Pog anymore. Pog hits the gas, and then everyone else, it's like comical how fast they just go off the back, and then Pog is gone. So that's something that really struck me. Another aspect of this race, again, I've watched a lot of prior footage. I might be getting things mixed up. 2018, I believe, was the year that Wout was
Yeah. Wait.
right.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Wout shows up on rim brakes. He's on a Stevens rim brake bike. He was stuck in the contract with the team Craylon, maybe. Can't remember which team it was. This is before he breaks the contract and goes to Jumbo and does not win the race, but it's the first time that people are like, wow, he can actually do this.
Well, he got third, and then remember he cramped up and fell on the final climb.
Yeah, that's the
he
best.
Just like stopped moving and tipped over. Still got third place though.
Yeah, I was trying to do a tribute to him at the 2025 El Tour de Tucson. That was kind of my motivation with my cramping late in the race, the AFib, the rest of it. Going back to 2022, I believe in that edition. This is also the year that things just go completely off the rails for Alaphilippe. Until then, Alaphilippe, formidable rider, multi-time world champion, multi-stage winner in the Tour, threat in the classics. And in Strade, this was the year that he goes slightly off to the left on one of the gravel sectors and on clips because someone has crashed in front of him. And he goes into the ground like a javelin. It's bad. It's real bad. He just tomahawks and then he starts cartwheeling. And then he goes on to have this series of wrecks that I think basically ends his ability to have the risk tolerance necessary to be on the level that he once was. And now we have him today as more of a road captain and honorary Thomas Voeckler face puller.
You know what's funny is I was rewatching Amstel Gold last year, and he cost Pogacar the race because I forgot he sprints away from the field with like 50K to go, like max watts for 30 seconds. And I don't know why, but Pogacar follows him, and then he never recovered from that because it was. But then Alaphilippe puts the parachute out. You don't see he's gone.
Totally.
He's like, all right, buddy, and then sits up and he's like out of the race. It's like, why did you follow that? So he's less of a road captain, more of just like a general menace now. Like he'll be out there. He's ready to ruin your race if you're crazy enough to follow him. Yeah.
So to go back to this Alaphilippe crash, I was thinking through, all right, what are the scenarios here where chaos happens and we get an alternate outcome, and how can teams try to control these variables? The variables here, it's definitely the gravel sectors. And I believe when Pog crashed in 25, I think it actually was on tarmac. I believe it was a road downhill left-hander, and he just got the arc wrong and went off to the side of the road.
Do you remember what we talked about a few weeks ago? How hard it is to descend when someone's behind you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, he had Pidcock on his wheel,
on
right?
His wheel, yeah. Which is people remember it incorrectly. You remember him crashing trying to follow Pidcock.
Right.
That's actually easier, in my opinion. It's harder when someone's behind you.
Yes. So, okay, in that scenario, we have a road descent. However, I would say rewatching many editions of this race, it's just going to sound like everything else in professional cycling. You need your team at the front. You have to be in the front on the gravel sectors. Why is that extra important? Even though this is gravel light. I was talking to our friend Jonathan Kaplan yesterday, Spencer, about the adult contemporary gravel shakeout ride world tour in Emporia, May 28th. Jonathan is, I don't want to embarrass him, but he seems terrified of the gravel in Kansas. He's talking about it like he's going into the Zarlak pit at Jabba the Hutt's temple,
Scary,
right?
Man.
Yeah, it's not that big of a deal. It's just little rocks you ride on. You just go on
a shakeout, right? It's got to go your own speed. Don't have to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That is partly why gravel changed the game in Kansas, gravel bikes specifically, because Yeah, if you can run a 45 mil tire, I would go bigger. If like, it's like Dylan Johnson. It's like, okay, we're at 3 years ago, people were riding 38s. Let's just skip to 60. Like, what are we doing? Just go to big.
Right.
Because in Kansas, like, that gravel's tough. The bigger tire, the better. Maybe ride a mountain bike, Jonathan. You'll be fine. He's got a nice gravel bike, though. He's got the Canyon Grail.
Right.
He'll be fine.
As long as he doesn't have to change the derailleur cables, he's fine. Don't. It's not a fun experience as a Canyon rim brake bike owner. The first time I had to change that rear derailleur cable, I'm still recovering. Nonetheless, in gravel, the factors that pop up, even on gravel light, it's Strade Bianche. It's dust. You can't see where you're going, especially when you're in a World Tour peloton. You're so tight. Navigability is a problem, and you don't
can't
see
pass anybody.
Can't pass anybody, and you can't see upcoming road obstacles. And even though this is the smoothest gravel I've ever seen in my entire life, never seen anything like it in Maine, Missouri, Kansas, anywhere I've ever ridden. It's almost like they go out and groom the gravel, like green slopes up at Estes Park or what, El Dorado, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nonetheless, there are potholes out there, there are obstructions, there are bigger rocks, and people are definitely going to wreck. So the farther back these riders are, the more likely they are to wreck. And then to Spencer's point, you're just absolutely not moving up once you hit one of these sectors. So it's almost like the old Gevis Balan, just line of people across the front and your leader rides off. So I think that those are really the big factors here is if you are not in the top 3 riders on every gravel sector, crash is number 1. The other factor is line choice on downhill gravel sectors is absolutely critical. I think it's a determinant not just of victory, but of how likely it is that you're going to be leaving in an ambulance that day. And we're definitely going to see some seasons truncated with people leaving the race. And
here's a hot take, though.
Yeah.
Is the gravel safer than the road? Because sure, people are going to crash tomorrow. I guarantee you it's less than last Saturday, which had no gravel. Because it puts you in a line. You know, you're not.
Right.
Last week, the problem was that it's like 15 people wide going 40 miles an hour on these roads.
Right.
That feels very unsafe versus the gravel. It makes you behave a little bit more. You have to focus more about where to ride.
Well, it's wild to say, thinking about some of the wrecks last week, including Spencer. I think that we were sharing that clip of I'm not going to remember who the rider was, when the Tudor rider goes down and Mathieu van der Poel dabs and goes around him.
Who was that? Yeah. It's not
important. 2 things about that wreck. Number 1, when you saw not the TV footage, but footage someone shot on the side of the road, they must have been going 25 miles an hour up the hill. It was insane. And it's not fun to wreck on gravel. As someone who's wrecked on every surface, though, you're going to slide better on gravel because it's kind of loose marbles versus going down on bricks that are wet, more or less.
Like
right?
pointy brick road. Not fun to crash on, I would imagine.
Not fun to wreck anywhere, but I think you're going to slide a little better on gravel.
So it's hard to move up because if you move out of the track, it's all loose. You're not going as fast. Here's the big thing about Strade. There's 2 sectors. Sector 6, they call them like Starato, I think, Staratos. Starato 6 and Starato 7. 6, it's, let's say, 11K long, and it's a climb. So the thing is, you got to be at the front because if there's an attack and you can't move up, you're going to miss it. That UA is just going to use that to soften people up, though. Then the next one, Starato 7, it's another one of these. It's like an 11K long gravel sector that is uphill the whole way, finishing with a steep climb. That's where the attack's going to go because if you have the strongest team in the race, like UAE, you can be at the front. You attack from second or third wheel. The only people that can follow you are the ones right behind you. Everyone else is automatically ruled out of the race. And then there's almost no gravel descents left. Then you're off to the races. There's only one more serious gravel descent. It's a lot of road descending gravel climbs. That's perfect for Pogačar and Friend, whoever his +1 is tomorrow to stay away. But it means when you have these super long gravel sectors, like 11K long, that are climbs, it's mathematically impossible for people to follow you that are not right on your wheel. And how many people can be right on your wheel? 1 or 2. So it really thins out your competition quite quickly, which is, again, why this race, a little flawed in my opinion, because the course just makes it, UAE's figured out how to thin it down so early and so quickly that it's just hard to have a big group that gets away.
Spencer, to that point, is this race washed? Is it boring?
It's, well, we should also remember, I'm going to try to get this out earlier today. We should remember people could be watching the most exciting race they've ever watched tomorrow morning as they're listening to this episode. I'm not.
So is it totally washed? Yeah.
Let's give it a shot. I think.
Yeah.
Paul Seixas, Isaac Del Toro, they could follow him. And I would say if I did say it was washed, the reason is you have guys like Van der Poel and Van Aert who just are going to be non-factors. Like, that's not fun. Where, next week, it's going to be so exciting, right? It's the last 20 minutes of San Remo. Anything can happen. Anybody can win. In my opinion, that's where the sport should be trying to go, not let's rule the race over 10 minutes into the TV coverage.
Spencer, I just noticed that Kevin Vermark is on the roster for UAE at this race. Has he raced with Pog yet this year?
Well, Pog's not raced this year, so
not
possible. Debut. And I talked to Kevin in December, and very good rider. People forget how good this guy is. Prodigy. Did the Tour de France at 21. It's not many riders have done that. I thought he might be the guy to set up the attack. Some other people I talked to said, no, they're going to burn Kevin before you even turn the TV on. But I'd imagine that would get me. I'd imagine he's pretty excited to be there. He's going to be a key domestique for this because Tim Wellens, who got third here last year, is out. Del Toro's probably racing for a result. Jan Christian, we're not quite sure. He might be racing for a result himself, so a lot's going to fall on, I think it's like Kevin Vermark, Felix Grobscharter, and Domen Novak are going to be the real workhorses for UA tomorrow.
Yeah, just glancing around the roster here for all of the rosters for the race, man, it's just reminding me how much I love bike racing and the possibilities that might unfold tomorrow. I don't think this is going to happen. Ben Healy, I don't know what this season looks like for him.
Course for him is the problem.
I don't know if it's a great course for him either. And we truly have to think about the fact that of all of Ben Healy's superpowers, the ability to cover his ears and wear a time trial helmet was one of them. They've taken away the man's ear covers, right? This is almost like Thor's hammer has been taken away from him and put in timeout. I don't know what happens, but seeing Ben Healy and Richard Carapaz on the same roster for an Italian semi-classic, it just gets me excited.
We should say Ben Healy, I'm going to come to his defense here. Sure, the ear covers maybe added a watt or two. The Ben Healy's superpower is, you know what? I also, when a company that spent millions making a faster bike, do you know what they told me? What's the most important thing about being Aero, Andrew?
The rider,
because they're 80% of the drag.
Yeah.
Ben Healy and Remco Evenepoel might be the two most Aero riders in the world. So he still has his body, which until they outlaw that, he's good. I will say he's third at World Championships last year, third at Liège last year, second at Amstel in 2023. Having said that, those are great results. He is his skills, I think, shine better in a Grand Tour stage hunting sense because he can really get to work. He gets in the move. He can use the breakaway like a Grand Tour stage breakaway. He can really work him over. And then when he attacks, like him doing 300 watts for 6 hours on stage 15 of the Tour is more punishing than him doing 300 watts for 6 hours at a one-day race, which sounds hard, but for a one-day race, like it's a lot easier for people to put up with that versus in a 21-day race. They're like, oh my God, this guy's flying. But he's just flying relative to how they are doing. I'm not trying to denigrate Ben Healy's. To get third at a World Championship, super impressive. And who knows, maybe he could podium tomorrow. I would not be shocked, but I don't think he's going to win. He just needs so much runway. He would have to be so far out in front of the group And the race, it's longer than it used to be. It's like gotten, like, even when we go back to Wout or Van der Poel's win, it was like 25K shorter. But it's, it's not that long. 200 kilometers, that's child's play for UAE. They're going to be ripping on the front of that group. Do you remember last year, though? As I say this, Connor Swift was in the breakaway. He attacked the breakaway, got away, and then Pidcock and Pogačar caught him, and he stayed with him for quite a long time. So, I mean, if I was giving someone advice, I'd say that's the move. Like, if you're Quinn Simmons, that's the move, to try to get in the move and let the race come to you, let them catch you, and then hold on for as long as you can.
I'm going to have to.
Faulkner did too.
Yeah, I'm going to have to slide here in a moment, Spencer. I have to go help a titan of industry excel in unscripted conversations through my consultancy, One Real Voice. But before I do that, I was just thinking about, if you're on Alpecin Premier Tech, maybe you're Tibor Del Grosso, right? And Mathieu van der Poel has said, I'm just not even going to go to this race. There's no way we can win. Like, why are you even there? Why are you even at the race?
Tibor has got his whole life ahead of him. He could be winning this race in 3 years.
Right.
He's
okay.
He's planning for the post-Pogačar era. Also, Tibor Del Grosso guy's a stud.
He's
probably a better climber than Van der Poel. I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I don't like this pessimism. Arnaud Delis saying I'm not going to San Remo because I'm going to get dropped. Like, what are we doing, guys?
Well, Matej Mohoric said the same thing. He's going to be at this race, and he said there's just absolutely no way I can compete.
Yeah, for the here and now, that's probably correct. This race is so specifically hard and so good for UAE. I do think there's no chance. But Del Grosso's got to be thinking 3-4 years down the line, he can be winning this. Before you go, question for you.
I'm ready for it.
Jonas out, or Jonas back in after being out. He is facing up against the new kid on the block, Juan Ayuso. It looks like Almeida got pulled off the start list. Weird for Paris-Nice.
Yeah.
Does Vingegaard have to win this? I know that sounds ridiculous, but I kind of think he has to win this Paris-Nice. He cannot let Ayuso beat him. And having said that, I am fully aware that Jonas Vingegaard lost 2023 Paris-Nice and then won the Tour later in the year. But I think he has to win this. What do you think?
Do you remember how hot he looked, though, early season 2025, setting aside that loss?
Wait, early season last year or 2023?
Yes.
Well, didn't he break his wrist at this race? He also had remember, like, he had a really bad time trial.
All right, maybe my brain's been erased. Which year did Jonas come out and just destroy everyone in every race for like 2 months?
It must have been.
All right, I'm just not going to speak on this. I'll answer your question. All right.
You might be thinking of Tadej Pogačar. Actually, in 2023, you're right. He was quite hot until he lost. Everything. This is the only race he lost. He won everything leading up to the Tour.
Yeah, it was he had a ridiculous early season. All right, I'm getting
like
my years
Gran
wrong.
Camino. I'm now remembering this. He won every stage and the overall.
Yeah, it was
Fast
ridiculous.
Country, he won almost every stage.
Right.
Oh, wow. Jeez, this guy's good.
Holy
smokes.
That's what people forget. I'm continue to be very bullish on Jonas. I don't think that we've seen his best yet, and he's super emo. He loves to remodel his home. He's handy. He could be a general contractor, but the man is an absolute stone cold killer. He's like Primož Roglič level. So
he is.
Don't forget it. And Big Rich Paul Seixas, yeah, he's got a bright future ahead of him. And I think he's going to see what the knife feels like.
Well, I think too, if you want Ayuso, you want to be the man, you got to beat the man.
That's right.
I think it's going to be a little bit of a rude. To me, I'm going back on my previous statement. Jonas doesn't have to win this. Ayuso has to win this because he can't keep, pardon my French, crap in the bed against good riders. Like, dude, you want to be the 10 million euro man? You better step up and be a guy that's a level below the guy you thought you were better than last year. So I'm fascinated to see how this plays out. Also at Tirreno, I'm very interested to see how Primož Roglič looks. Because
no one's more interested than me, Spence. I have to get on his site today and see if I can get some Telemark merch before it's gone.
I have gotten merch from that site.
It's incredible. He has the best personal site in World Tour cycling.
Really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to see Primož win. I'm a little worried at 36 years old. He's over the hill, but Geraint Thomas, I mean, he was still pulling out incredible results up until 38. So who knows? But we'll let you go, Andrew, and we'll be watching these races closely and checking back in next week.